What's up, everybody? So today we are working on the Black Z. I have finally been able to diagnose and figure out what is going on with it. So I've been working on this for a little bit, and I put a fuel pressure sensor in the car, hooked it up to the Mega Squirt, and have pretty much been trying to diag what my issue is with the car. So it turns out I'm actually dropping fuel pressure down to about 20 psi whenever I get in the boost. So the car is completely leaning out, and of course when you do that you can't make any power and you risk hurting the engine. So now that I've figured out what the issue is, I have started making a new fuel system and getting everything together to do that. So we're going to go into pulling most of the fuel system out and putting new stuff in. So let me show you what I have for my new fuel system. All right, so this is my new fuel pump assembly. So it's got a -8 feed, -6 return, and then of course over here you've got the vent for the tank. And then you're probably wondering what the yellow plug is, and then the connectors over here. So I've actually got two pumps in here. The pump here is a low pressure lift pump to pump fuel out of the actual fuel tank. And then inside I've got a DoucheWorks 810 liter per hour brushless pump. So this fuel assembly should be good for just about any kind of power I want to make. So I'm going to take the factory plastic assembly out of the car, and this is pretty much going to replace it, and it's a surge tank. All right, well, I've got the car up in the air. I got the gas tank drained. I just took the fuel sending unit, the level sensor, and pulled all that out and put a pump in there and just pumped everything out. So it'd be a lot easier than having to drop the tank full of fuel. So next I'm going to start dropping the tank out and getting the old fuel pump assembly out. All right, well, I got the tank out. It was pretty easy with no fuel in it. Last time when I did one in the gray car, it definitely had a lot of fuel in it. So this made it a lot easier. I would definitely recommend pulling the level sending unit out and just draining the whole thing out next time you gotta drop your tank. So we'll get the old assembly out now and get started with the new stuff. All right, we got the new fuel pump assembly put in place. Let's see if I can get it so you can see down in here. So that's how it sits in the bottom, and then the sock points towards the back. So under acceleration, it should always be sitting in fuel. So now I got to make the lines to go from the top hat to where I will start building new AN lines that go to the front. All right. Well, I made the -8 line going from the tank to where I'm going to run new lines to the tank. And I forgot to order -6 fittings and PTFE line. So I'm going to order that. But in the meantime, I'm under here taking out all the factory feed line. Technically, the return line is roughly the same size as the -6 line, so I don't think I'm going to change it. I'm going to double check the size and make sure that it is roughly the same size. And then I'm going to pull everything off from back there and get all the fuel system stuff disconnected up here, get it off, and kind of come up with a plan on how I want to mount everything and just clean everything up. So I'm going to get the factory line out from under the car and start making a plan for the new 8 AN feed line. All right, well, I got the factory feed line out. Took all the stuff I had on here before off, and then made a mistake taking the intake off. Had all my bolts out, but I guess the silicone was a little strong, or I already had a crack over here, but ended up snapping off the end of the lower intake plenum. So I guess I'll have to take that off and repair that. But the fuel line's out. I didn't have to drop the subframe, surprisingly. I got lucky with that. I really thought I was going to have to take it out. So I'm going to finish getting everything out that I want to. Start figuring out where I want to put my fuel filter. And probably start figuring out how to bend this line. So I guess I'm going to get to it. Get all my stuff out. And start prepping everything. All right, well, I've got my new hardline made. It's pretty similar to how the stock one runs. Got my dash 8 compression fitting on, and then I left it straight at the end so I can run it into the fuel filter. So I'm going to get this put in place and figure out exactly how I want to bend the last bit of the feed line. Alright, well, it's been a little bit since I've recorded anything. Went ahead and got the intake manifold, the lower intake off. Welded up the last bolt hole and ended up Cerakoting the intake manifold. Had a problem with the Cerakote, so hopefully it still works well. And then I've got my fuel filter down there. And then my feed line runs right up next to it. And then remounted the regulator. And I've got my flex fuel sensor sitting down here. So next we'll be making the feed lines from the fuel filter to the rail. And then getting the intake manifold on and dropping the tank back in the car. Alright, well, I've got the fuel system almost buttoned up. I've just got to do the wiring in the back, but I've got my new lines made. Everything is hooked up. The only thing I want to do at some point is change this line here in the front, put serviceable fittings on it. But yeah, that is the fuel system hooked up. I've already primed it, made sure I don't have any leaks. So let me show you the back. Alright, so back here I've got the brushless controller. I've got that wired into a connector so I can disconnect everything, and then I'm going to wire that into my old relay setup. So I got the relay here, and then this is the plug for the lift pump. I'm going to tie that in also so both pumps will come on at the same time. And then I just got everything running through the factory grommet down here. Don't mind the mess. Got a lot going on here at the house. But yeah, so got everything set up. So now all I got to do is finish the wiring, throw the intake on, and fire it up. Finally, and hopefully this solves all my fuel system problems. Alright, well, went ahead and got the car wrapped up. Got it fired up. I'm definitely going to have to make some changes in the tune. My fuel pressure is completely different, and I believe I'm going to have to get a check valve to put in the fuel line. But everything's working pretty good, no leaks. So soon I'll be able to put this thing on the ground and go for a test drive and make sure it fixes my fuel pressure problem. Alright, well, finally got it out of the garage. Took it down the road. Everything seems to be working well. AFRs were around 12.5 to 12.2 at wide open throttle. So I know I'm going to have to make some adjustments, but it works. I didn't push it all the way to red line or anything, just trying to make sure everything's good. But so far, so good. Everything works right and exactly how I want it to. So now I'll go ahead and get this thing filled up and drive it for a couple days, make sure everything's okay before I hopefully take it to the dyno sometime soon and actually see what it does when I can turn the boost up. So yeah, that is it. This thing is wrapped up. I'll double check everything, do a nut bolt check of everything I've taken apart, and that should be it. What's up, everybody? So I'm at work, so that only means one thing, and I've got the Z on the dyno right now. We are getting ready to see what kind of power it makes after I've fixed all the fuel system and swap AR housings for the turbo and see if that makes any power difference and kind of see what it does now that I've kind of got all the problems fixed. So let's get to it. Alright, so first run, it's a little bit quieter in here and cooler. Made 450 and 450 torque. So that's wastegate pressure, which is I think around 18 pounds of boost. So I'm pretty happy with that, actually really happy. So I'm going to turn the boost up. I don't have my laptop or my tablet or anything with me to check and see how much boost it's going to make. So what I'll probably do is when I get it on the street, I'll get my tablet and all set up, or my laptop, and see how much boost it makes on whatever setting I have the boost controller set to, and I'll let you know. So let's go and do another pull. Alright, well, I had a bit of a technical difficulty. My T right here for the boost control popped off, so it was just making wastegate pressure. So I zip tied everything together and hopefully it won't fall off anymore. I'm guessing with the vacuum lined off, it made a lot more boost, and on just gate pressure with at least the controller set is only making 4, but we'll see. I'm gonna keep messing with it and see what happens. All right, well, I'm happy with the power, not happy with the power. The vacuum line being off definitely made a difference. So put that back on, and wastegate was just 400 wheel, which I'm okay with that. Setting 5 was 460. So we're going to go ahead and swap the exhaust housing, see if it makes it more responsive, less responsive, or if it just makes top end power and that's really it. So let's get in there and take this exhaust housing off. All right, well, I got the other housing off. So this is the 83, this is the 101, and I can't put the 101 on because my drain line's in the way. So I'm gonna have to redo my drain line setup because of how much bigger the housing is. So I guess I'm not testing this tonight, and that kind of sucks. So I guess I'll put it back on. Maybe I'll just turn it up just a little bit just to see what it does. Kind of bummed. All right, well, it was the next night after the dyno. Realistically, pretty happy with how things went. The car doesn't have traction at 400 horsepower, so at 460 it's just been kind of pointless. Just blows the tires off, so definitely got to get some better tires on it. So that is my next thing before I even try and deal with changing the exhaust housing and redoing the turbo drain. But right now I've got my friend Sean's car in the garage, and I'm going to start on this project. So let me show you this real quick. So this is a S13 coupe with a 2J precision turbo. doing a bunch of intercooler piping and stuff like that. Pretty much helping them build the whole car. It's got a CD09 trans, big wide body on it. We're doing a custom fuel system, all this cool stuff. If there's enough interest in this, I will post some videos of it. Definitely put a comment below on if you're interested in it. This is originally it was going to be a drift car. Now he just wants to be a fun street car. But if there's enough interest in this, I'll definitely post some videos on it. Well, that is all the time I have for tonight. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, stay tuned for more content, and have a good night.